Chapter 1. Shadows and Sunstone. The Seeds of Rebellion. The lingering warmth from Lysander's touch, the echo of the sunflower's magic, faded slowly, leaving Gia with a sense of profound unease that settled deep in her bones. The idyllic moment, the fragile peace they had found, was a stark contrast to the reality of their situation. The ancient hatred between the Nightshade coven and the Sunstone kingdom was not easily dissolved by a shared gaze or the touch of a hand. Their clandestine meeting, shrouded in secrecy, had already stretched the boundaries of what was considered permissible. The consequences of their discovery hung heavy in the air, unseen yet palpable. The whispers began subtly, like the rustle of leaves in a late autumn wind. At first, it was just a fleeting sense of unease, a feeling of being watched, of secrets overheard. Then came the hushed conversations in the shadowed corners of the fortress, the furtive glances exchanged between guards and servants. The air, once filled with the magical residue of the sunflower and the potent energy of their connection, now carried the chilling scent of suspicion and growing hostility. Gia, attuned to the subtle shifts in magical currents, sensed the tightening net of surveillance. The delicate balance they had achieved felt increasingly fragile, threatened by an invisible force that pulsed with malice. News of their encounter traveled faster than anticipated, carried on the wind by informants and spies, and relayed through secretive channels of power. Within the Sunstone kingdom, Lord Valerius, a staunch opponent of peace and a man whose influence dwarfed even the king's, received the news with a scowl that could curdle milk. He was a man of immense power, a master strategist who had profited greatly from the ongoing war, and the thought of an alliance between the Nightshade coven and the Sunstone kingdom filled him with a chilling dread. His carefully constructed web of influence and control was threatened by this burgeoning connection, and he vowed to sever it before it took root. Valerius summoned his most trusted advisors, cunning sorcerers and ruthless warriors, all bound to him by a loyalty, fear, or a combination of both. He relayed the information, painting a grim picture of the potential consequences should Gia and Lysander's alliance solidify. He emphasized the threat this nascent relationship posed to his meticulously crafted plans, his own aspirations for power within the kingdom, painting a vivid and terrifying picture of the chaos that would follow. He spoke of the Nightshade coven's formidable magic, their potential to disrupt his hold on the kingdom, and the danger of a unified front against his ambitions. He deftly played upon the fears and insecurities of his allies, subtly manipulating their loyalties to turn them against the burgeoning relationship between Gia and Lysander. This carefully woven web of intrigue was his first strike against this unexpected alliance, a move to ensure his own continued power and dominance. Simultaneously, within the Nightshade coven, whispers of Gia's actions reached the ears of Morwen, the coven's high priestess, a woman whose power was surpassed only by her ruthlessness and unwavering devotion to tradition. Morwen, a formidable sorceress whose very presence commanded respect and instilled fear, viewed Gia's affection for a Sunstone prince as an act of treachery, a betrayal of everything the coven stood for. The ancient blood feud between the two kingdoms ran deep in her veins, poisoning her mind with suspicion and prejudice. She saw Gia's growing affection for Lysander not as a tender burgeoning romance but as a dangerous weakness that could compromise the coven's strength and ultimately lead to its downfall. Her fear was not merely of the prince, but of a weakening of the coven's power, a potential breach in the centuries-long defenses that had shielded them from the outside world. Both Valerius and Morwen, operating independently yet with shared goals, began to lay the foundations of a rebellion against Gia and Lysander's burgeoning relationship. They understood the threat that this newfound connection represented to their carefully constructed power structures. Their plots were complex and intricate, weaving through the social fabric of their respective kingdoms, utilizing their influence and power to manipulate events to their advantage. The antagonists' strategies were calculated, drawing upon years of experience and mastery of political maneuvering. They each knew the importance of subtle influence, the power of whispering campaigns, and the art of manipulating people's fears. Morwen, a master manipulator in her own right, began to subtly plant seeds of doubt and distrust within the coven. She used her authority and influence to subtly undermine Gia's position, portraying her growing feelings for Lysander as a threat to the coven's stability and a betrayal of their sacred oaths. She masterfully spun tales, weaving half-truths and carefully placed insinuations, to turn the other coven members against Gia. She exploited their ingrained prejudices and fears, turning them into weapons against Gia. The coven, a powerful organization bound together by a complex mix of shared beliefs and fear of the outside world, felt the tension. Morwen's manipulations created a climate of suspicion, fear, and distrust, making Gia's precarious position even more precarious. Valerius began to spread rumors within the Sunstone Kingdom, disseminating misinformation about Gia and the Nightshade coven, portraying them as untrustworthy and deceitful. He subtly emphasized the dangers of peace, painting a vivid picture of chaos and disarray should an alliance occur. He reinforced existing prejudices, highlighting historical grievances, carefully manipulating existing fears and distrust to poison the well of public opinion. He skillfully played upon the people's deepest fears, reminding them of past betrayals, emphasizing the perceived weakness of an alliance with the Nightshade coven. These carefully crafted whispers, designed to subtly undermine public confidence in Gia, slowly spread like wildfire, igniting a spark of resistance. Valerius aimed to shape public perception, painting Gia as an agent of chaos, a manipulator who sought to exploit the Sunstone Kingdom for her own selfish ends. Meanwhile, Morwen, within the secluded walls of the Nightshade coven, used her intimate knowledge of the coven's traditions and beliefs to strengthen her position. She manipulated the prophecies, reinterpreting ancient texts to support her stance and portray Gia's relationship with Lysander as a violation of sacred oaths. She used the weight of tradition and ancient prophecies to instill fear and uncertainty amongst the coven members, reminding them of the disastrous consequences that had historically befallen those who dared to defy the coven's strict code. She fostered an atmosphere of suspicion and uncertainty, subtly isolating Gia within the ranks of the coven, making it harder for her to gather support or find allies. Her goal was to isolate Gia, to portray her as an outcast, making it easier to ultimately neutralize the threat she posed. The seeds of rebellion were sown, carefully nurtured in the dark corners of both kingdoms. The whispers turned into murmurs, the murmurs into shouts, and the seeds of doubt germinated into powerful forces determined to thwart the budding romance between Gia and Lysander. The future, once filled with the fragile hope of peace, now seemed clouded by the looming threat of conflict. The initial glow of connection between Gia and Lysander now seemed a distant, fragile memory, threatened by the gathering storm. The stage was set for a battle not only of kingdoms, but also of hearts and minds, a battle for power and the future of two worlds, and the fate of a love that dared to defy centuries of hatred. The true test of their love lay not just in their connection, but in their ability to face these formidable enemies, and whether their love could ultimately conquer the darkness that threatened to engulf them both. The seeds of rebellion had been planted, and only time would tell if they could blossom into a full-blown revolution, or be crushed before they could take root.